Cause, you think it's only you that like good tea, eh?
Terms and conditions apply.
It's a beautiful morning, Naija. Don't forget to deposit your old Naira notes into your Momo wallet at the nearest Momo agent outlet before January 31st, 2023. First dial *671# to open the Momo wallet, then call our toll-free number 671 to locate the Momo agent near you.
Best point for exciting radio content, no radio programming, we've got you covered. Look no further with Mainland 98.3 FM. The fun is just
I should be my television out there for everybody. Baby, I'm mine, I was never too good at algebra, but our first date just broke the hex. When I took your number and we cracked the formula of reasons why you should replace my ex. Now he got the bullshit, retrace my steps. Quick SWOT analysis, let's weigh up strengths. Down the risk it all, girl, I place my bet. Could you check every box to get my favorite reps? Let's see your sauce broken, and your heart's golden. The way your arch broken, baby, Lord knows it. I can slow stroke the weight of your shoulders. Love it when you super soak it, osmosis. I caught the blood, you know it's not COVID. Don't like it, I need more doses. Now catch a thought, let's play with your roses. Drowning the sea of love, the heart's woven. Shout out to my baby, I'm mine, my body, I should be making legend out there for everybody. Baby, I'm mine, I don't I need fire in my life, you know that you know. Oh, to show me that make you reason for my lifestyle. Cause all the ones who want to make me I'm gonna let ya. You think you really love me for free time. Now you wanna talk about it for about me time. I love you all day. Now you gonna be my shine, my day. So yeah, I'm mine, baby, I'm mine, my body, I should be I'm gonna start off by saying you look bad, you know. Low key, I'm not even trying to brag, you know. Your beauty had a little Mari in his bag, you know. Where you're moving got a G running mad, you know. Let's take a palm wine trip, girl, the wrong way clear. Till forever now the aim, it's a long way there. For my queen, I go on break bread. Let's get closer like Oxley said. While like my vision, girl, it done declare. View the future we can one day share, that's real talk. Praying 10 years time, we still soft. Came and you changed my life, I'm still shocked. Many pies, stolen eyes and guys, I'm still yours, so
Pretty boys, why don't I see you? When I let me be the boy over to you. Oh, I'm so classy too. I know what you do, smell with your party. I'm over here getting money when you want to dash you. I see you. You got the reason that they find you. You got the reason that they want you, baby. I'm mine, baby, I'm mine, I'm mine. I should be my collection of it for everybody. I'm mine, baby, I'm mine, you're mine, I'm mine.
with keys.
Living my life to the fullest. Living my life with no regrets. Somebody pass me my cigarettes. I don't give you that environment. This all life nobody perfect. Don't they like me, I did the 100 for that. Yeah. I don't feel like getting my head is up. I don't feel too locked up. I mean, don't feel all over. I don't feel like getting my head is up. I don't feel too locked up. I mean, don't feel all over. We are born with a different mind. I'm born with a different mind. I know they get it back. You are my poison, I want my side. I know we forget those times. But the world, they get my time. But I get it, they call me I'm my session, I want my side. We are born with a different vibe, a different style. would you bless it? Said the blessing, just to give us a chance. I mean, mama, no, no matter, I don't think that they did it, I don't know. But if you never have me, I don't know. I can't in my head, it's all I don't feel too long. I mean, no feel all over. I don't feel like I in my head, it's all I don't feel too long over. I mean, no feel all over. We are coming down in the band. I'm coming down the best band. I know they carry back juju. I'm a pussy, I want my spike. I know we forget those times when you go to get my hand. But I get it, they call me boom. I'm a session, I want my spike. Fullest, living my life with no regret. Somebody pass me my. I don't give you that over there. It's a life, nobody perfect. So they like me, I they 100 for ya.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM.
Oh, no, 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 no. Messages. Hey. I go away. If not 10 years, it go there. And only you feel like in my fire. Girl, won't you be mine? Where you there? She a fit see you today. In your body, feel cut in my wire. All over you to find. We chop like monkey, body sweeter than turkey. Slowly roll it down like those me. No, they take come far from me. Shorty go down, down for me. Nothing goes so far, now money. Girl, nobody solo me. You're too short, enter for me. All over again. Where you wanna be like Sony fun, so you fit the color my bed. All over again. She don't go to the side, man, yeah. We never see this kind of love, yeah. You make me want to fall, yeah. Say you go cause you got salad. And girl, you know me, I really want for you, see. I give you Louis back and Gucci. The way you boogie down is stupid. I'm a stupid, yeah. I'm Japan like
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome to Trends in the Papers on 98.3 Mainland FM. This is the part where we get to talk trending stories on the front pages of our dailies. We have our papers here with us and we can't wait to get to it. We have The Guardian, The Nation, New Telegraph. We are going to be looking through the papers, but before then, it's very important for me to note the holidays are over. We're back to work. I hope you will be able to make time out to go and collect your PVC. The collection still continues 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at all the local government, INEC local government offices across the Federation. All right, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. you have the opportunity to go and pick up your PVC. Don't forget that by January 6th, we'll be moving, the collection will be moving to the wards, all right, and that's where you also get to pick it up. But why wait till then? You can always do what you need to do now rather than procrastinating. That's a thief of time. Yeah. All right, let's keep moving. Also, there's updates also on Bolanle Rahim's case. Apparently, the president himself has also made a statement as regards the incident. Hopefully, we'll get to see some sort of light at the end of this particular very, very, very dark tunnel that is police brutality. Moving on from that one, the very unfortunate incident that happened yesterday at Calabar, at the Calabar Carnival. It was a very unfortunate one where the bikers were ready for their day 5 activity and a drunk driver, just drove into the crowd. About 14 or so, I think about 9 or so people lost their lives, and 10 others injured and in the hospital. Very, very unfortunate incident happened yesterday in Calabar. All right, and then we also have trending stories from our papers that we're also going to be looking through. There's also the story from the federal government, from the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, as regards salary increment and whatnot. There's a whole lot for us to talk through as we go through the papers. In the meantime, my name still remains Omobola Sandra, and I'll be having Fuhad Saeed joining in via the phone line. Good morning, Fuhad.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for joining in. All right.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Let's get straight to it. We'll start with the Guardian newspaper, and the major headline from the Guardian: Hope deems as 15.9 billion naira Nigeria Air lands in court. All right, so Nigeria Air is still up for discussion, or is still in the conversation apparently. So the riders go. Misses sixth takeoff. Federal government in desperate move to salvage unpopular venture. Buhari's 2015 pledge. Local airline operators, aviation unions divided on prospect. Analysts seek urgent review of model for sustainability. Ruto to sell loss-making Kenya Airways. So, as it is now, any hope of the national carrier taking off in this current administration is fast dimming, and it's very unfortunate. This is the sixth takeoff that they will be missing this month, as the proposed airline, already Christian Nigeria Air, now has its fate stuck in a law court with barely 5 months to fly or sink. Remember, we we talked about this story some weeks ago, where the local airlines, local airline operators
They are going to go to court. Yeah.
go to court as regards whether or not this is actually going to be good for the economy, especially as the proposed Nigeria Air would be working with Ethiopian Airlines, or operated by Ethiopian Airlines, and there's lack of transparency on the funding, zero consideration for local operators and national interest, and vested interest and whatnot. So with all of these prayers and reports, the local airline operators went to court, and as it is now, they're in court to challenge the logic of a Nigeria Air that's going to be operated by Ethiopia Airlines. That's the issue here. Remember, we had that conversation also, that when they looked at the board, the management, they were all Ethiopians, the pilots were Ethiopians, and it was becoming a serious issue. All right, and if we supposedly have the major stakes in this particular venture, then why do we have 90-something%? It's supposed to be some sort of job creation also for Nigerians, and here we are. All that conversation came in, and also the fact that as regards transparency on funding and whatnot. Remember that we also had a conversation that the company that did the brokerage between Nigeria Air, or the federal government, and Ethiopian Airlines, the company was just established newly last year, and it's kind of linked to the aviation minister. Allegedly, yes, that's why I say kind of linked. All right, but that's the story, and what we have now is hope is looking very fast dimming. It may not fly in this administration.
Well, Sandra, I think we said a whole lot about this particular issue. It's just that it's making the news again. For me, it's not really new, because we already discussed the fact that the local airlines will go to exit court. They feel that somehow it's a threat to the local aviation industry in Nigeria, and then the logic, issue of transparency, funding, vested interest, and all of that. Remember that when this news broke, then the Minister of Aviation, Adi Serika, was boasting that no, it's not going to happen, the courts cannot stop them, the federal government was going to go ahead, and I said he was joking. We are a country of laws, we are a country of rules and regulations, and on that basis, whatever happens at the court, we need to respect it, and I know the federal government will respect the court. My own question is still the same, Sandra. Why are we so desperate to have a Nigerian air that will be run by Ethiopians? To what end, really? What are we supposed to achieve from this? We are not even a major stakeholder at the end of the day in this venture. So you have to ask yourself the question: who is so desperate to see this thing happen? The whole of this Nigerian air thing started started with the launching of a logo.
Yes.
With the one with numbers amount of money that
anniversary of the nation.
And all of that. So you just need to ask yourself, why are we so desperate to have a national carrier? What ordinarily would a national carrier even do to Nigeria? The issue about national identity, I understand, but we should do it properly. The party should have the funding. Remember that the initial plan was to have some of the national aircraft or the presidential aircraft, some of it deployed into the Nigeria Air, and that was the initial plan. Why didn't you go ahead with that plan? All the presidential aircraft are still being used by the president. Why can't we have maybe 2 out of what we have deployed into the Nigeria Air venture instead of us doing the merging with Ethiopia Air? And at the end of the day, the whole Nigeria Air team will look at an extension of Ethiopian Airlines. So what exactly are we supposed to achieve from this? And I think the Minister of Aviation should also clear the air on the allegation that the company that gave the contract is linked to him. And if that is true, then the issue of vested interest means that this thing should not even fly at all. So it is good that local airlines are taking this on. They are a country of laws, and we wait to see what happens at the court.
All right. Well, more details on page 6. As it is now, the Nigeria Air is in court as we speak, and yes, the airline operators are trying to see what exactly is happening as regards the modalities of this particular venture. We'll see what the turnout will be, but if this will be flying in this administration, seriously doubting that. More details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on now, we also have fans on rampage as Two-Face abandons contract, fails to show up for concert. That is on page 8. I think that's been happening a lot in recent times. People either don't show up for concerts, or they come and they don't spend up to 1 hour, things like that.
They come very late.
Or they come very late. I don't know what's been happening. I really don't get that part. But more details on page 8 of the Guardian. We also have Igbo rise against Arthur Eze. Others over opposition to Peter Obi. So this particular report is giving us all right. So this particular report is giving us a story. Despite opposition from some prominent politicians, Igbo yesterday said there is no going back in their support for Labour Party presidential candidate Mr. Peter Obi. So we have riders says there's no going. Yes, negative views not representative of Anambra or Igbo people. Eze's comments unpleasant and a bad omen, says a traditional ruler. So as it is now, a businessman and prominent Anambra indigene, Prince Arthur Eze, had on Monday distanced himself from the presidential ambition of Obi, saying that he's not part of Obi's aspiration because he has seen that the former Anambra state governor could not win votes in the southwest and in the north. And he made the comments in the presence of the state governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Soludo, traditional rulers, women groups, and other prominent people during the Ofala festival of his Ukpo community in Anambra. And he said that he has already warned Obi to withdraw from the presidential race, but the candidate refused to listen. So I don't know, should we say this is just a pessimist in action, or a realist in action?
Well, Sandra, the supporters of Mr. Peter Obi need to understand one thing, that it is democracy and people have a right to support whoever they want to support, just as they also have a right to continue to drum support for the presidential ambition of Mr. Peter Obi. The governor of Anambra State has also written recently about what he feels about the prospect of Mr. Obi winning the election. So, actually, he is a very prominent business person in Igbo land, and he also has his own right, but that does not mean that Mr. Peter Obi cannot win or will not win the election. That will be left for the electors to decide. He's just one person. Actually, he's just one person, and he can only speak for himself. And like I said, he has the right to say whatever he wants to say. And again, I also want to advise Mr. Peter Obi supporters of Igbo origin to be very, very careful to make his ambition look like an Igbo agenda. The reality of the Nigerian state is that you cannot win the presidency from a regional standpoint. If you are a regional strength, there's nobody has ever won the presidency in Nigeria by just winning his own region or making it a regional thing. So ordinarily we know that we need the support of the Southwest, we need the support of the North Central. We got a lot of analysis that from the 6 geopolitical zones to win the presidency, you must at least win 4 of the zones and really convince him for you to stand as become president. So I just think that the back and forth is unnecessary. Atunubu is just one man. Asuwiji is just one person. They have a right to their own opinion. And some supporters should continue with their support. And then by February, I think we'll all be clear on who becomes president in Nigeria.
Alright, just as you have said, Arthur Eze is just one man with one PVC, entitled to his own opinion, but of course we should expect reactions, especially in light of the presence of the people that he made such a statement. He must have ticked a lot of people off there. I mean, there were traditional rulers there were women group, other prominent people of Igbo extraction. So the reactions are expected, of course, but then, just as you have said, the Igbos should not make it an Igbo agenda. Peter Obi himself has said he aims to be a Nigerian president and not an Igbo president. But more details of that is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on, we also have here Shettima faults poll ranking Atiku to win in 2023. So we're back to the polls, and someone was having an argument yesterday. I was taking the poll so serious. Is the poll supposed to be some sort of determining factor, or can we truly rely on polls, and what is the credibility of these polls? But what we have in this particular report is that the vice presidential candidate of the APC, that's Senator Kashim Shettima, has faulted the opinion poll released by a national newspaper, which ranked Atiku Abubakar of the PDP ahead of APC's Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So, in the results of the poll that was made public yesterday, Atiku was projected to secure 25%. Tinubu was placed next to get 25%. The Labour Party and his NNPP were ranked 3rd and 4th respectively in the projection. Well, I don't know, but the credibility of polls and why people seem to take them so seriously. Are they a true reflection of the electorate? Can we say polls are okay? Let's hold on to it. At least give some people hope.
Well, I don't know. For me, I don't think polls automatically determine what will happen during the elections. Even in the United States, where polls are taken very seriously, we think polls fail. A lot of pollsters have been shocked severally with the results of elections. So in Nigeria, where we don't even have that tradition of polls predicting rightly some of our elections or a lot of our elections. We've had several polls. I think there's a poll that once gave it to Mr. Peter Obi. We've had another poll that gave it to
Exactly.
Now the pollsters are just again, it's about random sampling. It's about the population sample that you are talking to, and which some of these things are not even verifiable. We can't also decide. I remember there was one poll that said it was just about phone calls to about maybe that
was the NOI, the
NOI polls. So when you have polls that conduct polls by talking to people on the telephone, you then want to ask yourself how valid are such polls, or how seriously should you take such a poll? When indeed a lot of Nigerians are going to vote, don't even have phones down the rural areas and all of this kind of thing. So the reality is that the polls should do what they want to do, maybe just to ramp up some form of interest and raise some conversation amongst Nigeria, but it's not a determinant of what would happen during the election. Definitely not.
Alright, more details of that on page 29 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on, we also have worries over political violence in Rivers as thugs vandalize SDP office. And that is on page 28. I think we've had a conversation, as regards opposition, opposition anxiety and fears in other states.
Rivers.
Yes. Not just Rivers, other states. There is not just Rivers, because we've also heard of something happening here in Lagos, and we've also heard, in some other states. But looking at this particular one now, we have there's been an increase in political violence in Rivers State, and they're calling on leaders in that particular state to speak up. And this is as suspected political thugs vandalized the Social Democratic Party Secretariat in Nonwa Tai, in Tai Council of the state. The secretariat was due for commissioning on Monday by the party's governorship candidate, Magnus Abbey. And let's not forget that similar attacks occurred in November, where thugs disrupted SDP rally in Oyibu Council. All right, and it's becoming, alarming. Actually, I know this story is, speaking particularly, to in Rivers State, what is happening in Rivers State. But then, what exactly can be done as regards, opposition, fears, yes, opposition fears and attacks, in states, because the one of Rivers State is, I don't know, it's becoming. It's not just SDP. There's also the NNPP. There's also the PDP, and all of that in Rivers State. And people are being sacked. People are being threatened and whatnot. But what exactly is it INEC that we should look to? Is it the security agencies that we should look to, or the government itself in that state?
Well, it has to be the government, the politicians, and people in the state. I think you have someone where that's something similar in Lagos. The defense from the APC, for example, the ruling APC in Lagos was that, look, sometimes we have these overzealous supporters who just want to, protect the interest of their party, and so they go all out to do a man of that the party did not send them. But whatever that is, if I want to limit it, for example, to Rivers State, Magnus Abbey used to be of the APC. Yeah, the Senator Magnus Abbey is a very strong political figure in Rivers State. I'm even surprised that it's actually the gubernatorial candidate of the APC.
Of the SDP.
We had to leave the APC. I think Tony Cole, supported by Rotimi Amechi, has the ticket of the APC, and he has moved to SDP. That's quite interesting for me. Senator Magnus Abbey, one that thought that he was still going to remain in the APC, plug it out, and then continue to hold that one day he will be able to get his footing. But politicians have a way of moving around. They see what we don't see. But when all of the issue of violence, attacks on offices and all of that, it just wants to appeal to these politicians, because you will never get to the root of the issue, Sandra. If you ask the governor of Rivers, he will tell you he doesn't know, these are just talks. If you ask the opposition, they will tell you they were attacked by the opposition. So sometimes, even in politics, Sandra, you have to be careful with allegations. I have seen politicians who attack themselves just to paint the opposition black. What of that in politics? You don't understand?
I have.
Look, there was a time in Ogun State. I will not mention specifics. In Ogun State, a particular politician was putting up his own billboard and was telling people to go and destroy it by himself, just to paint the governor of the state black then. And he won on that sentiment. People were just, why are they destroying the billboard? This governor is wicked. And later we now discovered, when we investigated as journalists then, that he was the same person putting up the billboard and telling it by himself.
All right. Well, yes, sir. More details on page 28 of the Guardian newspaper. All right, moving on. We also have verification of shorties by police, EFCC, others being faulted. Let me put it that way. And the story is on page 4. Very quickly, what we have is that a group, that's Vanguard for Judicial Independence, has faulted prosecuting agencies' verification of shorties for bail, describing the practice was unconstitutional, and they've maintained that it is unconstitutional for the court to direct law enforcement agencies to verify shorties. Okay, whether or not this is a part of what not, we will maybe hopefully Barrister Piotr Bakare or Barrister Peter Oko. Yes, if we're on the right path.
If you want to start as a shorty, why shouldn't you? Why are you afraid to be investigated? Why shouldn't you? Very easy thing to do.
It shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be a problem if you are going to be standing as shorty. I mean, if people are guaranteeing people, they submit some forms,
and they check you out.
They check the person out. Well, more details on page 4. And finally, from the Guardian newspaper, 2023, economists tasked government on insecurity and oil theft. All right, and that is the major read on page 3. Development and economic expert Dr. Chirike Uba has urged the federal government and the state governments to decisively tackle insecurity and oil theft in the country. And he said that these are the two major challenges that made a mess of 2022 financial earnings. I think we can agree with that particular one. We've talked about that over and over.
Of course, we can agree with that one. Of course, every other thing is tied to that. There are so many other things that the next president would have to tackle. It's not just insecurity and all that. There's the forex issue, there's the diversification of the economy, there's the social issue, so many things. That's why we're saying that these guys should understand that nobody's going to take excuses from them. They already know the problem. They've seen the situation of the country. They know where we stand currently. They know the troubles of the nation. So we will have a president that will give us excuses of APC did something for PDP 60 years. No. This is the time to get themselves to understand what the issues are and how they want to solve it. That's what we wanted to hear when we vote a new leader, not to be excuses of somebody did something in the past or APC failed. So that narrative will not fail.
All right, well, moving on now. That is on page 3, and that's all we have from the Guardian newspaper. You're listening to Trends in the Papers on 98.3 Mainland FM. And let's see what we have from the Nation newspaper. And the major headline from the Nation: government raises hope on salary increase for workers in 2023. And we have here the writer: move to cushion rising inflation effects, says Ngige. So there's a presidential committee on salaries that has been put together, and they are reviewing, or they're already reviewing, the salary structure, and they're expected to come up with a salary adjustment in the new year. What says you about an administration that will be leaving office in the next 6 months?
Well, the reality is we have
using Osun as a case study.
The thing is that we're using the money to pay these salaries.
That's the thing. You see, that's why I said, using Osho, because, someone comes in, you employ people, and then you just dump it for the next administration, and then the guy comes in and is like, what do you expect me to do? So, do you think, I'm not trying to be a pessimist here, I'm just saying, do you think it's something that the civil servants, do you think it's something that the civil servants should, jump on their feet for at this time now, or they should be cautious, they should cautiously celebrate?
Well, everything right for every good to mean that they will celebrate. Every pay rise is a pay rise, even though it may not really solve the problems of the civil servants. But we need to ask ourselves just 3 things. Where is the money to pay these things? If you increase salaries, where will the government get the money? This is a government that has a budget deficit that they are still struggling to understand how to finance the budget. We also have a situation where when we talk about inflation, you want to talk about reduced spending to fight inflation or increased spending to fight inflation. That is also one thing the economists may not agree on. And then the third issue is that instead of thinking of increasing salaries, why can't the government work very hard to fight all of the indices that have been identified as the causes of the 20.something% inflation that we have in the country that has made our currency and naira valueless? Because you can increase salary, but if you don't tackle the root causes of inflation that makes whatever you pay, then you are just joking. You increase salary, and even they're talking about when salaries are increased, any other thing goes up. The public transport guys,
that's the point. They're increasing the salary because things are already up. There's inflation, and there's a hike in almost everything. So that's what, hence the need to review salary upwards.
If they review salary upwards, will that solve the problem? Will that stop the rising trend of the inflation?
Can they solve the inflation problem first? Is that possible?
That's the problem. So for us to do the right thing, we want to work on ensuring that we have solve our energy problem, solve our security issues, ensure that we firm up our economy, we're able to earn enough forex, we're able to produce, ensure that we have a balance, not just an importing nation, we're able to produce and export. It requires hard work. Not all of this just approach that keeps coming from the government. That's what I'm saying, Sandra.
All right, well, more details on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. And writing on that, we also have here, Ipman insists on improved supply to end petrol crisis. And that's coming from Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria. So, so the Ipman has promised that things are going to get better as they have been able to, come to an agreement with NNPCL as getting fuel at the regulated price of 148 from the NNPCL depot, and then they'll be able to now sell to the filling stations at the regulated price, or the filling stations cannot sell at regulated price. That's basically what that is. But we've been hearing all talks and no action. Let's actually see this happening. That's what we're looking forward to. All right, more details on page 8 of the Nation newspaper. Also, we have here, very unfortunate incident, motorist kills 7 at Calabar Carnival Parade. And right after that, governor expresses sadness, event cancelled abruptly. So a tragic incident that claimed 7 lives yesterday brought a temporary halt to the ongoing Calabar Carnival in Calabar, the Cross River State capital. And it was a very, very, very unfortunate thing. Remember that this annual carnival, was initiated during the administration of Donald Duke, and has not been held in the past 2 years, probably due to COVID and whatnot. And then they came back now, and full, very wonderful celebration ongoing. The bikers were out to do their thing, and then this drunk driver just drives and rams into people, and people died, people are injured, and the carnival had to be put to a suspension. Yes, of some sort. Very, very unfortunate incident. That is.
We just have to all be careful this festive season. People are happy. The clubs are up on fire. All manner of alcoholics are everywhere driving on the wheels. Very simple. If you're drunk, don't drive. If you want to drive, don't drink.
I wanted to ask that, because a lot of carnival goers or people who had experienced the carnival in times past said there used to be barricades, like you're not even supposed to be able to drive through what's happening, because there used to be barricades, no movement, just people doing their thing. So how the car was able to drive through, what happened to the barricades, where were the security operatives and whatnot? Those are the questions that
There are also questions that we need to find answers to. But I just say that the young lady in Calabar is very unfortunate. We commiserate to the families of those that lost their lives. But I think that generally people should be careful as they go out there partying, merrymaking. That people are taking sales alcohol and drinking alcohol. And you have a lot of them behind the wheels, and so we should all be very careful. We should just exercise caution as we celebrate this.
All right, more details on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Another hot trending story this morning: Osun Tokun replaces Okukwe as Obi's campaign director general. That one is on page 5. So remember that sometimes last week or so, the director general of the Presidential Campaign Council of the Obidati campaign, he had to resign due to some legal battles that he recently went through. That's in person of Doyin Okukwe. So in that light, there's a new director general that has been recruited or elected or appointed now.
Appointed.
That has been appointed, and that is in person of Akin Osun Tokun, a former managing director, news agency of Nigeria, and also a former aide to or political advisor or political aide. Advisor aide to former President Olusegun Obasanjo. That is Akin Osun Tokun as the new director general of the presidential campaign of the Obidati. All right, more details of that on page 5 or from the Nation newspaper. We also have here 15 shot dead in Zamfara and Sokoto, and that is on page 7. So that's still ongoing. The very unfortunate incident still happening in that part of the country. Or you can get the details on page 7. As moving on, we also have FCT residents on red alert over possible outbreak of Ebola, cholera, and others. You say
You should Ebola again. Well, I think which of the African countries that was recently battling Ebola?
Liberia.
Uganda. Okay, no, not in the past. Recently, we've been hearing reports of, I think, somewhere in Central Africa. But whatever that is,
it's Liberia.
We should have it. Okay.
Liberia or Sierra Leone. Yes, one of the two.
Okay, but
the Gambia was about cough syrup. That was the Gambia.
Okay, I can't know one or two African countries had reported cases of Ebola recently. And I think we mentioned it that, for anything infectious disease, Nigeria should have what you call a swift response approach, that can quickly change.
Oh,
the last episode were just locked.
That's DR Congo.
Just locked. Okay, I know it's one Central African country.
DR Congo.
So DR Congo. So one will think that whatever happens in any part of Africa, Nigeria should be on the alert. We're a country where people travel a lot with our population. People do. In fact, you'll be shocked that people go to some very, very obscure parts of Africa to do business. So we shouldn't overlook anything. And for this, I hope the NCCA or the NCDC will be up and going to quickly see whether truly this is a threat, or we should just quickly find a way to nip it in the bud. People are moving around seriously now. In the festive season, people are going to be gathering at clubs, at concerts, at churches, religious houses, and so God forbid that we have a repeat of what happened some years back.
Well, hopefully, as they've executed a high alert mode, and they are also, an alert mode has been activated. Hopefully, that would, make our officials to sweep into action to ensure that we don't have an outbreak across the country. Let's see how that will turn out. Well, hopefully, seriously hoping. More details on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. Ex-Governor Nnamani predicts Tinubu's victory. That's on page 4. And finally, from the Nation newspaper, slain lawyer was pregnant with twins. And that was revealed by the mother of Bolanle Rahim, who was shot dead on Christmas Day. Very unfortunate. The president has also made a statement, though, says he was deeply shocked and called the crime or the murder a heinous one. And the president is involved, the IGP is involved, the governor is involved, the commissioner of police involved, and the NBA is also involved, and hopefully justice will prevail. More details on page 6.
It's always funny how politicians say they are shocked. The president said he's shocked, the governor said he's shocked, but you ask yourself, what were they expecting to get from the Nigerian police that is not well trained, that is not well catered to, their needs are not well catered to, they are living in condition. You look at it.
Fuhad, I want to ask you a question. Do you believe that the reality of our politicians are the same with ours?
Well, it's not.
So I don't think we should be. I don't think we should be
shocked. We should not be shocked by what they are saying.
Because I remember exactly, because these are people who have a lot of luxury handed over to them. They don't have to queue at the station. They don't have to attend to a disgruntled policeman does not have to stop their car to harass them. Exactly. All right. So
okay. I agree with you, Sandra.
Their reality is not the same with us. Very unfortunate.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's why they are shocked.
They are shocked. They will be shocked because they are far from our reality.
When the governor of Lagos recently stopped somewhere in Antony, I saw some out of school children. I said he was shocked.
Hawking
out of school children hawking. He was shocked. Wow, there are some children who don't go to school in Nigeria.
I think he was genuinely shocked. I think it was genuinely shocked that you mean this is still happening. So That's why when on ballot 23, I'm sorry to deviate, but on ballot 23, whenever we have this of candidates coming on, now we tell them, see, the issue is at the grassroots, and that's why the local government is very, very important. If you are in tune with the local government, and the local government, they are doing what they're supposed to do, they feed you back, and then you know that there's problem. Real-time information, exactly. All right, but some states are already signing against local government autonomy, but so are all of us. Well, let's move on to Vanguard newspaper now, and the major headline from Vanguard: after years of neglect, primary healthcare centers collapse nationwide. All right, and the riders to that: most lacking basic infrastructure, personnel, and drugs. Only 6,000 functional in total. Wow, in the whole country, 6,000.
The same local government is supposed to handle these things. Normally, the government are supposed to be under the jurisdiction of the local government, taking care of them, funding them, managing them.
Yes.
That's why they have to go to the general hospital.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Very, very. So, declare emergency in primary health care, says NMA, Medical Association. Uncompleted primary health care abandoned after gulping 14 million naira in Ondo State. Okay, and then I'm sure there's a whole lot of that, spread across the country. FCT: only 30 primary healthcare centers are adequately equipped, and then we have 60% of primary healthcare in Lagos are defunct. That's come from the commissioner.
And you know what the primary healthcare centers can do, Sandra? It's supposed to be the easiest, the closest to the people,
the easiest, the cheapest, the closest,
the easiest, that people can quickly approach for cases.
Some sort of first aid,
first response, easier, closer to people, and then of course they can now refer when the case is beyond them. But this first attempt to the needs of the people, even maternity issues, pregnant women are supposed to go there to see gynecologist consultancy, get some of these nurses to also attend some like needs and all of that. Even the issue of immunization and all of those kind of things. But where we are, look at the report. A lot of these healthcare Lagos is even better outside that. For anything you hear of Lagos, it has 3 times bad as in other states. When you tell you Lagos is 50% bad, just know that in other states about 90% bad. Because Lagos is moving up in terms of performance when it comes to the health sector. So if Lagos is being reported as 50% bad, just know that in other states about 90% bad completely.
Well, you can get all of the details on page 5. Primary healthcare centers are seriously are collapsing or have collapsed across the country, across the nation. Very unfortunate as it is. More details on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. We also have here Weekend colleagues torn between Tinubu, Obi. And the story is on page 27, and the writer to that: Integrity Group moves to London. Atiku sure of victory despite G5 threat. That story is on page 27 of Vanguard. Let's just quickly run through and see what we have there. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and his campaign have expressed optimism about his prospects of the 2023 elections, despite threats by 5 aggrieved governors of the party to undermine him. And then we also have here the fact that Nyesom Wike led the G5 governors to London to perfect their endorsement plan for a yet-to-be-named presidential candidate. So feelers from the G5 camp indicate that members are torn between declaring support for the candidate of the APC and that of the Labour Party. So the governors are considering giving their support to either of the two. Well, that's from a source. I don't know. I'm not. That's not from me. But that's what the reports from Vanguard is saying. But then let's be very careful with this ones. Wait, I don't know. They're in London. Are we there with them? Do we know what's will happen? I think we should just all look forward to the announcement that will be made from the G5 in January 2023. More details of that on page 27 of Vanguard. We also have here IPOB to federal government. Security agencies, we are not distracted by your lies and blackmail. And that is on page 11 of Vanguard newspaper. So IPOB said that it's not distracted by the many lies and blackmail allegedly being perpetrated by the Nigerian federal government and its security agencies against it, and they're saying or alleging also that the Nigerian federal government and the security agencies are working with criminals to blackmail them because they refuse to give up on Biafra restoration agitation, adding that the security agents set INEC offices on fire and engaged in some heinous activities and turned back to accuse ESN. These are all allegations though, but then you can get all of the details on page 11 of Vanguard newspaper. Alright, and moving on, we also have 20 die in Lagos, Ibadan, Mokwa auto crashes. Let's be very, very careful in this festive season, just as Fahad had mentioned, because what we have now is no fewer than 20 persons have been confirmed dead and 6 others injured in a fatal crash on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway and in Mokwa in Niger State. All right, and the Mokwa crash happened at 3:30 a.m. while a lone crash also occurred in Otukpo at about 11:35 a.m. on Tuesday. All right, but it is very important for us to, look into speed driving, into over speeding, taking one way and whatnot. It's easy, okay, you're driving in the middle of the night, there's no other car on the road and whatnot, so you feel that, okay, we can just keep going. It's very important that, we all drive as if we are the only sane people on the road. Very, very important that we do. So please, in the spirit of, the festive season, let us reflect in the manner that we drive. Let us maintain the lowest possible speed and also exercise patience. All right, we will get to where we are going if we leave if we leave our pickups at the right time. It's not time for you to start rushing. The only reason why you rush is probably okay, because you didn't leave on time. So let's take things slow. More details on page 2 of Vanguard newspaper. All right, we also have finally from Vanguard, Naira redesign, currency outside banks falls by 190 billion naira. Okay, and that is on page 19 of Vanguard newspaper. All right, you're listening to Trends in the Papers on 98.3 Mainland FM. Let's move on now to New Telegraph. Finally, and what we have, major headline from New Telegraph: New Year, federal government raises hope of salary increase for workers, may invoke clause for removal or strike days from pensionable period. That sounds very interesting. We'll be digging deeper into that on Milan Focus. But what we have is that the federal government has raised the possibility of salary increase for civil servants and public office holders to cushion the effects of the high inflation rate next year. We'll give more details and we'll also be discussing further on Milan Focus by 8:40. So stay with us. More details on page 2 of New Telegraph. Moving on, we also have ignore rumors of Obiozo's death, says Ohaneze, as fear heightens over his death. All right, and what we have, the stories on pages 4 and 7, and what we have is that there is concern all over the well-being of the President General of Ohaneze Ndigbo Worldwide, Professor George Obiozo, an octogenarian, has reportedly been ailing and has not been able to sustain regular public appearance as his tasking position demands. There's been no formal statement from his family, but then it is very important for us to keep the hope up. The speculations have been going round, so let's be very careful the information that we get. Okay, more details of that on pages 4 and 7 of New Telegraph newspaper. We also have here Kaduna gunmen leave with 16 out of 53 victims in fresh attack as 37 escape. All right, so we still have that. We just reported of Zamfara and Sokoto, and then now we are also talking about Kaduna. so help us, as regards insecurity in the country. More details of that on page 4 of New Telegraph. Buhari to police. Justice must be done on Rahim's extrajudicial killing. And there are riders to that. Police officer faces dismissal. Possible murder charge, says investigation. PSC urges weapon handling training. That's Police Service Commission now. And then we also have presidential candidates. Atiku, Tinubu, Obi, Kwakwanso, Shawore condemn killing, seek police reform to meet international standard. I will always ask this question. Why is a police officer on the road carrying an AK-47? Very, very important question that we need to ask. Okay, but then as regards this particular report, more details on pages 3, 5 and 30 of New Telegraph. Now we also have on the front page of New Telegraph, 2023, no end in sight to PDP crisis. And the rider says, we have riders to that, as Wike intensifies attack on Atiku ahead of presidential poll. Fayose Ikpeazu absent as Ekiti. Abia PDP inaugurate presidential campaign councils and committees. Atiku will win at first ballot, says campaign council. I'll create jobs, enhance MSMEs with $10 billion by 2023, says the presidential candidate himself. More details on pages 3, 5 and 7 of New Telegraph. Whether or not PDP will be able to survive whatever turmoil it is going through, we will know come February 25, 2023. Study links low vitamin D to aging muscle loss. You may want to read up on that as regards our health, and that's on page 7 of New Telegraph. We also have here 2023 ex-SGF Secretary General to the Federation, Babachir, speaking for us on presidential endorsement. And that's coming from the Middle Belt Forum. And that's on page 2. And quickly, what we have is that the Middle Belt Forum has backed former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal's endorsement of the candidate of the Labour Party for the 2023 presidential poll. Okay? And they said they've decided to back Obi because Nigerians are yearning for change, and people are determined that this time around, the change that we have been yearning for will come. More details on page 2 of New Telegraph. Muslim leaders direct female students to wear hijab in Ogun schools. That is now another problem. So many things that we need to look into, and here we are still on the hijab conversation. More details on page 6 of New Telegraph. Muslim leaders direct female students to wear hijab in Ogun State schools. That's on page 6 of New Telegraph. Ebonyi mayhem. Police confirms 3 deaths. Umahi orders APC chair and reps candidates arrest. That is on page 6 of New Telegraph. And then we also have Oshintoko replaces Okukwe as Labour Party campaign DG. That's on pages 2 and 6. We also have landmine explosion injures 2 in Niger. Yes, Gore pictures on Vanguard newspaper front page there. All right, and finally from New Telegraph, we also have 5G, successful telcos to complete 150 million internet subscribers. And that's all we have for trends in the papers for this morning. Stay with us. I'll be back by 8:40 for Milan Focus. And the focus this morning, of course, is as regards the salary increment. Should we be looking forward to it? Is this sustainable? Is this something that the current administration should be leaving as a backlog for the new administration to come in and take over? So many questions as regards that particular one. Is it the right timing and all of that? And what effect exactly would it have on the economy? Let's have all of the conversation by 8:40 on Milan Focus. This is 98.3 Milan FM. We'll be right back.